it's been really awesome to watch your career and just where it started and just being such an incredible developer now and doing things that no one else has, really been able to do, right? And you've done it, and it's been awesome to see you've had so much success. Welcome to our Industrial Advisors podcast. You have Bill Condon and Matt McGregor, and we have a great guest with us today, Justin Carlucci, who is a partner at Bridge Industrial and has been as active as anyone over the last 5 years in the development side. Lots of really cool projects going on, so appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, both of you. I really appreciate it. It's been a while since I've been in this office. We used to meet here like every week in that conference room down there and just press you on leasing all of our product.
Hey, I remember one that we had so much square footage with you guys. Totally. And we had one small vacancy.
Yeah, it was 13,000 square feet or something.
13,000 feet. Yeah. And you came in and put a little pressure on, and we got it leased, man. We did it.
Dude, do you remember Phil, how well?
That's why we put the pressure on.
Yeah, because the CEO, for the listeners, CEO of this very large industrial company.
Yeah, the biggest U.S. publicly traded REIT.
Yeah, you would not think that he would know of a 13,000 footer.
Totally, he knew.
Were millions and millions of square foot. We get invited to this conference, your conference once a year at
Vail.
Yep. And boy, he spotted me from across the room. We're having lunch.
Oh, yeah.
Here comes Phil. He knows your vacancy. He's like, walks right at me, McGregor, why? Why is that still vacant, right? And Tony Lydon, you remember him? You remember him in Arizona? He was sitting on a much bigger vacancy, longer than mine. I said, Tony's got the 100,000 footer vacant. So he starts yelling at Tony, and Tony's like, why'd you throw me under the bus?
Yeah,
but it was amazing how well he knew those assets.
Totally. And you ended up leasing it at fantastic rates. If I remember right, it was a time when, I think maybe we got a 95-cent rate at a time that everything else was in the 80s or something. And it was right.
We were holding on for the right deal.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Penn, remember who leased it?
Yeah, Penn with Antonia's Bakery or whatever.
Wow. They're still there.
Yeah, they changed their name. I drove by there the other day, but same thing, gluten-free bakery or whatever.
So tell us about, you've built just some fantastic and really incredible buildings, sites. Tell us what you have going on right now and some of the projects you're most excited about that you have going on right now.
Yeah, so right now we have, it's probably about 5 million square feet or so that's in Washington State that's been delivered or is under construction and been recently delivered. So we have 1 million square feet at our I-5 Seattle project. That's the one in Milton, used to be a gravel pit.
Yeah, right next to Wild Waves.
Totally. Yeah. Yep. So you can, you can cool off on those hot summer days.
Open house,
and thanks. Thanks. Yeah, that was our team did a fantastic job planning that, and even the real Hawaiian leis that were flown in from Hawaii that morning. Who even thought of that?
Yeah, shirts.
Yes, totally. But so we got that project. We have another 2.5 million square feet being built down in Tacoma, about a mile from I-5, 3 miles from the port. We have 300,000 square feet. Actually, we're close to leasing the rest of, it's 2 buildings in SeaTac. We're close to leasing the rest of one of the buildings now at another record-setting lease rate. And that's after just signing a lease. That was another record-setting lease rate on the rest of that building, 3 weeks ago or something, a month ago. We have 180,000 square feet in Kent that we're building. We have 600,000 square feet in Vancouver, Washington that we just completed. And then we're just leasing up the rest of our 500,000 square feet up in Everett. So good amount of projects.
Yeah.
So in total, there's no question you're the number one developer out there over the last several years, but right now, your dominance in square footage has to be 75% of the construction going on.
Yeah, somebody told me the other day when they ran the numbers, we were 70% of the product being delivered. Yeah. And the thing I love about that is, that's on a total square footage basis. But the thing I love about that, if you go through each individual project, they're unique in very specific ways. So like the Tacoma 2 million project and I-5 Seattle, all big box at a time when there's little to no big box being delivered or even in the pipeline that's going to be delivered soon. So you kind of got a little bit of a competitive advantage, I'll say, on that product. And then you have SeaTac or Kent. Both of these are when's the last time that brand new state-of-the-art product was delivered in core submarkets like that?
Yeah.
And even our Vancouver building, Vancouver, Washington, has been performing phenomenally, thanks in part to the demise of Portland. So everyone wants to move to Washington State and wants to move to kind of that little suburb area where there's no income tax and other benefits for businesses, and it's just less crime and homelessness and drugs and all that stuff.
You know, we were there. We were talking baseball before we started jumping on here, and we were there for a state tournament.
Yeah.
And we all stayed. It was in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And we stayed on the Vancouver side, like on the water. And there's a lot of really cool things happening in Vancouver.
Totally.
That area is really cool.
Yeah, the waterfront. So that's just, I was just talking about our industrial project. There are a couple other industrial projects there that have done really well too and are being delivered. But that waterfront stuff, there's a bunch of mixed use stuff that's being planned or built on the waterfronts that are really, really nice.
So you got a ton of stuff going on now. What are you looking for? Because obviously it takes a couple of years to get this stuff going on.
Totally.
What's in the acquisition realm for you?
Yeah, so any development site bigger than probably 4.5 acres between Frederickson, Lacey, and Everett. And then that's pretty much the sweet spot. I mean, and we're looking for, it could be big sites, it could be small sites. It doesn't matter to us as long as it's well located within that geographic area. And so now's the time to start building that pipeline back up.
Yeah. Given the vacancy in different size ranges, what would be the kind of the perfect size building right now if you're chasing something?
So I like kind of two subsectors when it comes to size. So bigger stuff, like 250, 300,000 square feet or bigger, I really, really like. And then small stuff like 50,000 square feet. If you could convince a developer to build stuff that's smaller than 50,000 square feet, or maybe it's an 80 broken up into a bunch of 15s or 20s, that stuff would kill it. There's just so many tenants in those size ranges and nobody's building it because it takes us, just as much work to build a big site as it does a small one. And so might as well spend the time on the big sites.
We've said the same thing, that if you could go build 120 in Kent or Tukwila or Rent, make it a 4, 5, 6 tenant building.
Totally.
Performs.
Unstoppable.
Yeah. In fact, we're selling a vacant building right now. It's 130 that has been a single tenant building its entire life.
Yep.
And everybody that's looking at it is chopping it up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be unstoppable. Link did a great job. They had a building on I think it was 212th Business Park that they redeveloped, or maybe they tore down a building, or they had an extra piece of land or something, built like an 80 with a bunch of 10s to 20,000 square foot spaces. Yeah. And the rents were about $1.50 shell rents at a time that everyone else was doing $1.25.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they did great.
Product. That's great though, that you're 4 acres up to whatever.
Totally.
In that wide, range of area. It's awesome.
Yep.
And with what you're looking for in those areas, what would you say are the biggest challenges to development today, from financing to new regulations on what you're having to do on those projects? What are the big challenges?
Yeah, so the two things that stick out the most, sort of three. I mean, the second one's sort of kind of subsets, but the first one is financing. Getting equity excited about a deal today is a lot more difficult than it's ever been in the last 8 years that I've been in the business. With that being said, those were the greatest 8 years of all time. Right. So it's not really like the most average bar to compare it to. So that's a little tough. And the second thing is around regulation. So there's two things. One, entitlements. Those are a lot more difficult these days, although the sentiment seems to be flipping with a lot of the municipalities. For a little while there, kind of at the peak of the market, maybe 2-3 years ago, there was a lot of resistance, whether it was community groups or just the jurisdictions in general didn't like industrial. They wanted every other type of real estate but industrial. That sentiment has seemed to flip, and I don't know if it's because they're anticipating or they see the decline in development and therefore decline in fees for their municipalities. I don't know if maybe they've just come around to the versatility of industrial, how it can be used for everything from retail to R&D to office to warehouse and distribution and manufacturing. But either way, that is still a little bit of a challenge. The other thing is energy code. So the new International Building Code, just in the last few months, has been started to be adopted. The energy code portions have started to be adopted by some jurisdictions. So it feels like that's on the precipice of being probably adopted by most. And that requires, instead of heating your warehouse with gas. Now it's electricity, which is, it's really difficult to get enough power for your building as it is.
That's surprising that you would switch.
Oh yeah, now you need 2 or 3 times the amount of power, and
power is more limited.
Totally than it's ever been.
Yeah.
So that's going to be difficult, and then it adds another $5 or $6 of cost to your construction. So any cost savings that may occur because of the slowdown has just been eaten up by the new energy code stuff. But
it's not easy, and the sites that are left are generally harder sites than they were yesterday.
Oh, totally, yeah.
So we know what's in the pipeline for the rest of 2025. So as you look at your crystal ball, 26, 27, where do you see the development world going?
First and foremost, I'm very bullish on industrial in general, more so than just about any other type of real estate. And that's not because I'm in it. It's because at its core, real estate is just walls and a roof over a business. Commercial real estate is just walls and a roof over a business. And the cheapest way to do that is industrial. And you can see from, let's say, what's happening in Redmond. All those industrial buildings that were distribution or manufacturing are now R&D, they're office. With e-commerce, industrial has now replaced retail in a lot of ways. So there's every different way that you can use an industrial building aside from, live in it. And so for those reasons, I think the future of industrial is great. For 26, 27, I'm hopeful that as rates start to come down, hopefully by the end of this year and then into next year, that will be kind of the kick in the pants everybody needs to finally have enough conviction to get going again.
Yeah.
But ultimately time will tell.
Yeah, and demand's going to drive development, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And in our market, what are your favorite markets? Like what's traditionally like for maybe redevelopment, and what are your new favorite markets as far as expansion markets go?
Although I would accept, any of the sites within that geographic parameter that I mentioned before, there are some that are right now, I think, stronger than others. Everett is one that comes to mind. And I think that's largely driven by the advanced manufacturing and the talent base there. And, all these, whether it's advanced energy companies or space exploration kind of companies, they all go to that area to pick off the talent and the engineers from Boeing and all these other groups. And so, that's kind of the area that they come into. Plus, there's very little land left in Everett. And so if you want to be in the North End submarket and you could get something there, a lot of people would, especially given that the next closest place is, it's not like in the Kent Valley where you drive 5 minutes further south and there's another pocket. You're going 15, 20 minutes at least to get through kind of northern Everett into Marysville, Arlington. Yeah. And so I think the demand's going to be great in Everett. I really, really like Everett. And then Kent's always going to do well, especially if you deliver brand new state-of-the-art products.
It always sets records of performance.
Yeah.
SeaTac, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, yep, all that stuff. Renton, Kent, SeaTac, Tukwila maybe even. Any of those close-in submarkets I think will do well.
But what about way down south?
So
Vancouver, Washington.
Vancouver.
That's as south as it gets. That's in a different
that is like a
market.
Portland, so
yes, that's exactly it. Yep. So I think
Portland guys cover that.
Yes, correct. Yep, and with every other shop, same thing.
Maybe we should look at that.
Totally. Well, there's land there, but they kind of are I shouldn't say ahead of the curve. So people started developing there, and then they put a moratorium on industrial. And I don't know if that's still there or not, but that was kind of one of those pushbacks, which all of these obstructions, in a way, only make the buildings and everything more valuable. Because the businesses still need them, the population still needs its goods. And
yeah, that's right.
So, and if you can figure out a solution, then you have now a competitive advantage that others don't. And so I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. It's a pain in the butt, but it's only going to make you better.
Yeah. Supply constraints. So,
what do you think about further south, like south of Frederickson?
I generally like to stay in the core.
Yeah.
In those markets that you already outlined.
Yeah.
I think that even in a slow market, you can go find a way to do a deal, and even if it's below the rent that you want. But as you get into some of those secondary markets, sometimes you just don't get a shot at a deal. Right?
Totally.
Like you're not getting any tour activity. The valley and the core, you are, and you can just do an ugly deal if you want to lease a space.
Yep.
I'd still rather have a building in Sumner than anywhere.
Yeah.
Sumner's. Yeah, Sumner is awesome. Yeah, well, we have
You've been very consistent.
Yeah.
You've been very consistent on Sumner for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's paid off. Sumner's great. I mean, it continues to get leased up. Everything that's built there continues to get leased up. And it's especially once they finish the 167 expansion into the port, that feels like that would be huge. Now, we know the pace of those projects can be, glacial, but when that happens, that could be a big game changer to make Sumner even better.
And just speed up all the markets getting into the port.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was down there last week touring a client through, and it's a little congested down there.
In the port?
In the port.
Oh, totally. It's kind of awful.
And that interchange in Fife,
54th?
54th is the worst interchange on all of life.
Well, not to mention, I'm good for like 3 traffic tickets a year in Fife.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have the cameras everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Like stop completely. Or if you're in like the right, no right turn, and you think, whatever.
Speaking of 54th, how does the Poodle Dog survive?
Dude, I've never eaten there once. Have you? I've never been to the Poodle.
I don't think I've actually ever eaten there. I've used a restroom a few times.
Yeah, I think I might be in that category. I feel like I've been there, but I don't feel like I've eaten there.
Yeah.
How does it survive?
The Poodle Dog.
The Poodle Dog.
Yeah. All right, so you've built millions and millions of square footage over the years. What's your favorite project that you've done? They're like your kids. You love them all, right? Like
kind of. Yeah, there's like 3 that come to mind that I really
give us all 3.
like. Okay, first one is White River Corporate Park. The first one we did together.
Yes.
And here's why.
Yes.
And it's not, because I happen to be talking to you.
Yeah.
It's my first project ever.
Yeah.
It was a big one.
Yes.
It didn't necessarily go terribly well. So it was really exciting and you learned a ton about construction. I don't know if you guys remember, but like at one point we had to take boats from the job trailer to the actual buildings because there was so much flooding on site.
I did not know that.
It was complete, yes. So we had these rowboats.
650,000 cubic yards of fill.
Okay, so then also the biggest spec building ever built at the time.
650, yeah.
Yep, and probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite building of all time, the 60,000 with a ton of trailer.
Yes.
That's a great building.
Dude, that unstoppable.
Yeah.
Gazillion doors.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's definitely in the running. Yeah, and the amount of mud on that site, it was just awful from a dirt work perspective. It was terrible.
That was a great project.
But at the same time, it was really interesting.
All that being said, it moved pretty quick.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't...
Oh, totally.
Well, you remember the first big deal we did there? Do you guys remember how that went down? We had another tenant that we were negotiating.
Was that LKQ?
No.
What was the first one?
Yes, they came in and it was 300, but we were negotiating with another tenant for a long time. And that tenant kept taking longer and longer. And then these guys came in and we were about to ink the other deal. We were getting close.
Yep.
And
they said, we'll sign a lease.
Oh, I do remember this.
Right.
Yeah.
Sign a lease in 1 week if you're willing. And we said, all right.
And Beth Speak went to work.
Here's the rate. Here's the terms.
Yeah.
Here's the deadline.
I do remember this.
Our lease fully executed.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they did.
I do remember this.
They did it. And we kicked that one off. And
who had to call the other broker?
Well, Patrick did. Patrick Gemma.
Okay.
Yeah.
We made him do it.
Yeah, totally. That was also why I was like my favorite because I was so new that like I had no responsibility and nobody. So it was like you just get to watch all this mayhem occur and
we're just the leasing brokers. We went whatever
you
the
did,
ownership wants.
Totally.
That was a great project. Yeah.
So that was one of my favorites for all those reasons. I-5 Seattle was up there too, and the reason being is it was the first deal that really I ever did on my own with Bridge. Yep.
Total square footage is.
Yeah, it's 2 million square feet.
Yes.
And so.
And then you killed it.
Yep. And then it's also the biggest spec building ever built, so beat the old record, and then the rate was fantastic. Yeah. And then the sellers, it was a complicated deal. We had like part lease, part sale. There was all these other things. You're working with the sellers. There's an 84-year-old dad. There's kids. There's brothers. And I loved it. We spent so much time in the boardroom hanging out with them. I became good friends with them. I really liked them as people. Felt like we were helping them. They were helping us. It was fantastic. So I liked that project for that reason. And then Tacoma 2 million was probably the biggest learning experience, just with all the difficulty with entitlements and pushback from community, and also the city didn't want to get involved, so they took a long time to do things, and it was just a really complicated deal. A lot of contamination. It was a federal Superfund site. So, and then the biggest project I've ever been involved in at 2.5 million square feet total. So for those reasons,
That's some pretty good projects.
For
Yeah.
sure.
yeah, it's hard to pick, like kids though, you know, it's hard to pick, like this, well, unlike the kid situation, you just don't want to say it out loud. You still got a favorite one. With this case, there really is 3 that I like for just different reasons.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, it's been really awesome to watch your career and just where it started, and just being such an incredible developer now, and doing things that no one else has, really been able to do, right? And you've done it, and it's been awesome to see you've had so much success. So congratulations to you, and appreciate you jumping on with us.
Yeah, and I'll just say, working with you through the years, you said it earlier, you're transparent and honest. And that, I think, just your personality and those rules that guide you has armed you well to become the #1 developer. You're great to deal with, and I'm not surprised you're at the top of the heap now.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I was hoping it would pay off, but you never know.
Yeah,
So,
Awesome.
I like your optimism too. Like that's important, right? You better have it if you're a developer too.
Totally. You can find, I mean, for every deal we go through, for every 100 reasons not to do a deal, there's only like 1 to do it. And so you just got to find, it's really hard to find the good reasons to do deals sometimes. But those are what really matters. Your job is to solve all those 100 problems, let's say, but like you got to be optimistic. You got to find the reasons to do something. Otherwise, you just get wrapped around the axle on all the risks, and you do nothing, and that doesn't help anybody.
No, that's right. Well, it's worked well. So we'll do it again soon. So appreciate.
Thank you both for having me.
Getting on the show again.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.